Episode 13. Go on,
No, that's it. You've done it. I'm having it.
No.
So we are now on
episode 13.
Episode 13. Unlucky for some, but lucky for me because you just did a glorious introduction. And what we were told that we should look at the camera more.
Yes, this is
true. But
true.
The point of us talking was to not look at the camera and just talk and see what happened. But now, it's look over there, look here.
I've got a professional setup now, so I'm not just looking at a phone or the back of a phone.
Yeah, but I'm still
looking at something.
Still a little bit I don't know. You look at that all you want. I feel like I'm still going to just look through you.
I don't think the feedback was actually at you. I think it was at me.
Wow, what was the feedback about you?
Then he's look at the camera more.
Yeah, but neither of us look at the camera. So
you must look more though.
Yeah, only when we subscribe now. Oh yeah, subscribe now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Go on, then finish this.
So yeah, just subscribe if you're watching this, whether you like it or not. I don't really care. Just subscribe.
Gorgeous.
It's no trouble. Buttons down there somewhere.
Somewhere here.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since the last podcast?
I've chopped my hair off.
You have, but then you've tied it up.
Tied it up. I know. I'm not.
So what? What brought that on?
It was that or go ginger. That was my
Well, that
decision.
kind of poses more questions than it answers. Don't get me wrong, I like a ginner, but
I like change, and I got bored, so I sat down with my hairdresser Jodie and said I need to do something drastic. It wasn't shave it off. It was I'm either going to do.
Oh, we're going a bit Britney.
Going to do ginger or chop it. And when I last had the chop, I really liked it. She was like, I'm not going to go ginger. I've done too many of them, so we're going to go for the chop.
Why is ginger in at the moment?
Yeah, loads of people do it.
Oh, didn't you recently find out that burnt orange is your colour, though?
I did.
Maybe if you'd have found that out before you had your haircut.
Then I could have fought my case a bit more, couldn't I?
But then if you were wearing burnt orange with burnt orange hair, you'd probably look a bit of a tit, wouldn't you?
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. So we've just chopped it off, so that's what I've been up to.
Right. Well,
was that interesting?
I had my hair cut as well, but...
You have 4 a month, don't you?
Yeah, but I only have three hairs. So... God, we do chat shit on these, don't we?
We do. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to have our question, which is a bit more lighthearted this time from the audience. You're going to do your top tip. And then the topic of today's show is how to refuse to make yourself miserable. So the topic in short would be refuse to make yourself miserable. Right. Now, that isn't my work. This is, I know we say be real, be authentic, and be defiant. So it's our take on the work that exists. So this is the book, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable. The second page says something about it being a self-help book, so I nearly just chucked it.
I was going to say, you're going to tell them the story of the fact that you nearly didn't read it.
Yeah, because it says this isn't your standard self-help book, and I don't like self-help books because they just pander to people that probably actually need some more brutal truths to help them on their way, which I do.
Maybe that's what you should do as a sideline.
Yeah, maybe, because I've not got enough on. And then I thought, no, I'm going to give it a crack, and it is.
You've loved it, haven't you?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So I've wrote down some insights from it that I think could help anyone, because we all go through phases where we maybe don't feel as tip top as we could, and what this book has sort of reaffirmed in me, because I kind of felt like I kind of knew it a little because it's just how I act, but I didn't know how I act was psychologically important to the process. So it's something called rational emotive behavior therapy, and that's the way to get to the root of all your problems and fix them. So I've pulled out some key notes from it. Hopefully I can read my own writing.
I wouldn't even know what to say.
And then I'm just going to share them. So we'll do that at the end.
Beautiful. Well, we haven't gone through. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? So I've done the open workout, signed up for the open, like I said on the last one, and did that. And when this goes out, I'll have done the second one. I did it twice. Now I'm pretty fucking pleased I did it twice, because I did it the first time and I got what I considered to be a pretty good score. It was like one of the, in my head, I had the round of 24. And
for those that don't know, what the workout was, you want to explain?
Yeah, so if you don't know what the CrossFit Open is, just Google it, because I'm not going into all that. But the workout was a 15-minute AMRAP, and it was 3 burpees over a dumbbell, 22.5 kg dumbbell for the men, 15 for the girls, and then 3 dumbbell hang clean and jerks, and then a walking lunge of about 15 feet there and back. The lunge was more of a sort of, it was like rest, but not. It was like active rest in the workout to split the movements up, because once you'd completed the round of 3, you did 6 and then 9 and then 12, and it just went up until you reached the 15-minute time cap. So in my head before, I was like, I think I can get to the 24s. And I did the 24s and 1 burpee. And I was like, nice. so I'm happy, but I love burpees because I'm a weirdo. Yeah. And I just felt like I could just fucking go because I was happy with how I'd done. I thought, well, I'll do it again and just send it and see what happens. And got 24 more reps the second time. And I was
not marginal.
I was this close as well to beating Elliot from our gym. Like, I was really close, the closest I'll ever get. He'd just been skiing up piss for 3 days, and I was tip top, ready to go. But
sweet moment.
Yeah, we'll leave that bit out. But yeah. And even in that moment, I just basically, a minute to go, I just couldn't fucking move. I'd gone.
Oh, we saw it in your story. You were rolling around.
Yeah, I was like a wounded animal. But yeah, it was. I love it because the other reason I did it twice as well is because this week coming up, there'll be a skill in it, or a heavy barbell or something that means I'm back in my fucking box. So I'm enjoying this moment of actually, just being good at grunt work and being a big, cardio person and burpee fan. So apart from that,
Defiant Show, what we've been up to.
So we mentioned it briefly on the last podcast, I think, that Defiant in the community. So we're going around the 6 gyms, all CrossFit affiliated gyms we're going to visit, and basically just let them tell their story, we'll tell ours, and just create episodes that are going to come out monthly. But like, we've really started to gather pace in the planning for that. So we're kicking off on the 22nd of March. We're going up to Method Training, way up north, and it's like massive gym. It's got a really good following, loads of members. So they've got a really cool story to tell. So we're going to be up there with Joey, shooting the content, and then I'm also going to do a podcast with Jamie from Method. So that'd be cool because, like I say, that gym's pretty fucking special. So to hear how that's grown and built over the years will be really interesting. So that'll be a good episode. And then, we're just finalising. I've got a call today with someone from CrossFit UK to talk about how they can, however much or little they want to get involved in this, but we're going around affiliates, telling a positive story to help them as much as us, get people through the doors. And at the moment with CrossFit having a bit of a bad rep in certain circles, it's the affiliates that suffer, and you don't want the affiliates to suffer because they're the ones that change lives. They're the ones, at that level, people coming through the door, getting fitter, getting stronger. Like we've talked about it before, it's like done everything for me. But that's because of the affiliates, not because of CrossFit Inc. or the games or anything like that. It's because of those gyms opening the doors to the local communities, people going in, getting fitter, being around better people, and just like enhancing their lives. So it's, I'm testament to that, and I want to tell that story. So we're going to do that. And like I say, CrossFit UK getting involved as much or as little as they want.
Amazing.
And we'll see how it goes. Other than that, the Defiant Ones.
Yes.
The Defiant Games presents the Defiant Ones. So that is literally this close to launching. We've got all the artwork done for it. So I'm going to do a big, proper, sort of reel on it to explain it. But in short, individual competition. You'll be in and out in 90 minutes, 3 20-minute-ish stations. So it'll be similar to dare I say, high rocks in terms of the in and out. You know what I mean? You're
not waiting around all day. You don't cool down.
Yeah, there'll be 3 stations, so it won't just simply be a high rocks where it's continuous. It'll probably be 20-minute on, 10-minute off times 3. But serious engine test, no rig, no high skill, intermediate and below, and just there'll be a qualifier come in. And what we're doing with the qualifiers, I always find it a bit shitty that you'll pay to qualify, and then you pay again. So anyone that does the qualifier for our comp, that money will come off their ticket price if they accept the finals place.
Yeah.
And everybody that does the qualifier will go into a prize draw for £500 cash. So that is literally reason to do it, even if not. And the qualifying workout, again, similar theme. It'll be one workout, no rig, no high skill, just one workout. Might have a couple of parts to it, but all done in one chunk.
So when's the date?
So the finals date will be the 5th of October, which is a Sunday in Sheffield at Forge Functional Fitness. And the qualifiers, I don't know off the top of my head when we're going to go live with them, but it'll be pretty soon. Yeah. And then you'll have until the 31st of July to qualify. Anyone that's doing the Defiant Games already, get in touch and we'll do a pretty good deal on the qualifiers. Definitely. But and other than that, we're prepping for the Defiant Games because it is now fucking March. I don't know where this year's gone.
I know. We were talking about it yesterday, weren't we?
Yeah, and so the Defiant Games is in 2 months, and I was like, shit, I need some barrier covers. So I've had to get some of them made up with our suppliers that we use for them. So yeah, planning for the Defiant Games. It's like so funny because when the first year of the Defiant Games, I was like shitting myself from the moment I booked a venue. Now it's like, have we got kit? Is anyone coming? Don't know, but it'd be great. It's like you don't lose
Not quite that relaxed. No, but your attitude.
I just mean in terms of how I was the first time to now, it just shows that, and I guess this is something that can translate to all areas of business and things like that. It's the more reps you do at something, whether that's in the gym or in business, like the better you get, the more confident you get, the more experience you get. So whereas I was sweating every single detail now, it's not that I'm not sweating them. I just know that we've got them covered.
Yeah.
So it's just that kind of experience that you gather along the way.
Well, we spoke about it last time about email writing, didn't we?
Yeah.
And you were saying I used to sweat about email writing, and now you do it with your eyes closed nearly.
Sometimes, yeah, but like I miss keys because I'm a bit of a one finger typer.
Yeah, but you must have like a saggy finger because you put it in caps lock all the time. It catches it. What are you doing?
You're all right. You're on a podcast. She's loosening up, isn't she? So she didn't used to like him. So yeah, I think that's about it for the key updates.
Yes.
We've got some new hoodies coming. So we've got the ones.
Yes.
Pretty interesting, really. So we did the just 3 colours in the washed, and they went pretty well. But we had loads of people saying, "Can you do different colours?" Like, so what we're doing is that finishes this. They'll already gone off sale by the time this comes out, and then we're doing a tweak on the design and releasing some new colours that are a slightly different hoodie, just so it's not the same. So if you bought a wash one, you might want one of these more solid colours, a bit brighter.
Absolutely. The sun's coming out.
It is, and that's been nice as well. I went for a walk yesterday, and I had my hoodie off for the first time of the year.
Lovely.
Sun on my skin.
You're a happy boy.
No, don't worry, I didn't get tits.
Well, have you told me that you do that yet?
Yeah, sometimes. If you ever on mean streets of Staveley, watch out. You'll see me bouncing up and down canal.
Mr. Beckett.
I only do that when I'm walking alone. But to be fair, where I live, that's normal.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. There'd probably be someone out there now.
Probably. With that traffic.
50, yeah. So, right, at the risk of us digressing any further, should we get back to some form of structure?
Go for it.
So, do you want to do your top tip now, or should we answer the question now?
I'll do the top tip. Doesn't matter. Top tip first.
Okay.
So today is about a blue and red ocean strategy or thinking, either or. Because I had a consulting day yesterday in hospitality, and it was just really, really interesting how at the beginning of the day, the way we were talking about certain things were all based on looking left and right in terms of that competition does this, they do this offer, they charge this, they do that, rather than the customer feedback, which is we're brilliant at X, we want this or they want that. And it changed, don't get me wrong, like towards the end of the day. And that's why I wanted to do it today. So blue ocean is the fact that you can go to the ocean, and I think EC use it, don't they? That saying where you can go to the ocean with a teaspoon or a bucket, no one cares.
Not heard that.
Have you not heard that one? No one actually cares.
What's that mean?
So like it's infinite. So there is an ocean out there. There's an ocean out there of customers, of money, of talent, of all sorts. You can go to the ocean with a teaspoon, or you can go with a bucket. Like no one cares what you take from it, but it's theirs for the taking, is the point.
Yeah.
But blue ocean thinking or blue ocean strategy is deciding what that looks like. So what does the big wide world look like? You forge your own path, come up with new ideas, think solely about something new, exciting, a new take on it, rather than the red ocean strategy, which is obviously like the bloody zone. So where there's an absolute feeding frenzy and it's a race to the bottom with either price or availability or whatever it is. So you're just trying to grab greater attention of what's already been taken. So you're just trying to get a little bit more of attention that's already gone. So
you're like reacting as opposed to anything then.
So very much like they say the meeting that I had yesterday, which was, well, they do this. And if they offer that offer, we just undercut them by this. So it's just a race to the bottom. And all it's doing is eating into your profit margin. So it's eating into everything. And the more profit you have, the better service you can provide, the better you can treat your staff, the greater staff you have, the more you can invest, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just trying to flip your mindset from red ocean to blue ocean.
And so is that like sort of a common theme then? So most people, because they just get, it's almost been too bogged down in the weeds almost of like the business, that they're sort of rather than focus and try and step back and create some continual improvement in what you're doing. It's more like, right, shit, I've got to do this because of this. And do you have to really take a step back and sort of review everything you're doing as opposed to just the competition when you do something like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's take a step back. And I think one of the things that was prevalent in the conversation I had yesterday, it's not really that. Like, it's so easy to copy what you believe someone else to be good at. But everyone's got their own level of shit. It's just how much shit you know about. Every business comes with its own challenges. But if they're doing really well in that area, well, we'll copy that. Whereas I don't think it's take a step back or think about it. It's actually giving yourself time to think without noise, without distraction, without anything, almost without figures, and go, right, what are we good at? What can we do better? How do we service our customer base more, or whatever it is, rather than going, well, I've looked at what everyone else is doing and we can offer that just slightly different or slightly cheaper. And like I say, it just then ends up being a race to the bottom, and that's what we're trying to talk about. Yeah.
And I guess, you know, like when you, if you flip that a slight bit, you know, if you do look around at what people are doing, and then rather than like try and undercut, like try and enhance, that can be a positive though, can't it? Because, you know, if you're in a market where, you know, the products are going to be relatively similar, sometimes it can be good to, well, they say, don't they, the best good idea is a good idea. So like you can, like, rather than think, right, how can I do what they're doing but undercut them? Well, what they're doing is good. How do I make it better rather than undercut them? Because then you're increasing the value in the proposition as opposed to decreasing it.
Oh, definitely. Well, I had a really good example I came across on LinkedIn the other week. And, you know, like when you go for a car service, and they like wait generally because a lot of either you don't have the courtesy car or whatever. So there's obviously various levels in that. So there's obviously the car service, the one where you can drive and then drive off in another car and then come back. I saw on LinkedIn that Servicing Garage had changed half of his showroom into a gym. So he basically invited you down. So it was only a 3 or 4 hour servicing window. And you could do that and then have cold water therapy, a sauna, a steam room. How good is that? So that's essentially doing something that everyone needs at one point, but has enhanced the experience by saying, take some time for you while we take care of your car. And it was absolutely beautiful the way he'd done it. So it was like glass, it was clean, it was black, it got all the newest kit in it. Like I say, it got a back room, which had almost got like a mini spa in it. But it attracted, and the write-up on it was attracting really high value clients. So from a networking opportunity, because the cars in which they were servicing, it actually ended up being a triple benefit for the people that were going. So things like that, like think differently. What can we offer our customers? And you think car servicing is car servicing, it is what it is, but it's how you offer the experience and how you attract a better offering based on what you're providing. So yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that's really cool. Right. Well, thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Another very useful top tip.
Do you want the question?
Let's do this first, because I feel like the question is a little bit more lightweight.
Okay.
This is pretty heavy, and I don't even know if I'm going to explain it right, but I'm going to try, and it's going to be my take on it.
Okay, let's start then. What's the first bit?
So like I mentioned at the start, there's something that Dr. Albert Ellis wrote about in this book, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable. And it's called Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. Now, when you think about that, it's called REBT. So if you just listen to the first word, rational, that is the key thing in most of the messages that I've took from this book and what I've wrote down. It's trying to become more rational. And then, you know, if you look at emotive and then behavior therapy, they're kind of on the back of it, and it's just helping you become more rational. So one of the things on the early pages that he talks about is unscientific thinking and illogical thinking. So it's, if you're holding something over yourself that can't be proven, then that's an example of thinking negatively about yourself. So, you know, like... I'm
going to say, have you got an example of that?
Yeah, so, you know, like if you fail a test and then you sort of attribute your self-worth to that test.
Okay.
You could be like, oh God, I'm stupid because I failed this test. That isn't actually like proof that you're stupid. It's just proof that you failed the test. So like be able to separate out what actually happened versus sort of who you are is key to it. Okay. So like if there is an activating event such as that, which would be failing a test, that will have a consequence, and the consequence is how you feel about it. So failing the test doesn't equal the consequence. The consequence is almost like a byproduct of it. So, you know, if you get depressed because you sort of fail a test, it isn't the failing of the test that's made you depressed, but you will sort of explain your depression by failing the test, when it's the other way around. So it's because, and that can't be, again, scientifically proven. And the reason for that is, say 100 people take a test and 100 people fail a test, not every single one of them will feel the same. So therefore, it isn't a consequence of failing the test that you feel how you feel. It's how your sort of, your self-narrative and maybe how you feel about yourself. So it's being able to separate those things out, and that's really key. Because, like they say, like activating events don't have sort of negative consequences, but then you just attribute the negative consequences that you create to the activating event. So it's kind of thinking in that way. So if you're like, what's the next bit we've got? So yeah, so they all come into these things, what he calls irrational beliefs. So your irrational beliefs, such as that, like maybe attributing your self-worth to an event that you can't actually control the outcome of, is negative, but then you can develop irrational beliefs from them. So, you know, an irrational belief example would be, I must not fail this test. So the moment he calls it masturbatory, and I think that's provocative intentionally, because it's like saying, some good examples of it: I must perform well, you must treat me fairly, my life must be what I want. Why? The moment you put in that must in, you set yourself up for failure, because you're giving an absolute to something that isn't within complete control. So you've got to start like thinking about things in a bit more. There's things that you must do, and there's things that you don't have to do. So if I'm saying to you, you must treat me fairly, well, you don't have to treat me fairly. You know what I mean? Where's that written? But, you know, if I want this Nocco, I had to pay for it. You know what I mean? That is a must, because it's factual, it's correct. But in terms of feelings and like, I must perform well, I must be treated fairly, my life must be what I want, they're like sort of, you unconsciously associate a must with things that aren't must-worthy.
Yeah.
So therefore, you end up sort of not being, they're not quantifiable. So you really set yourself up for failure. And then what you'll end up doing is sort of logically explaining why, because that must have happened. And it's such a difficult thing to do, because like some musts are logical and some are illogical. And it's just finding the balance between which is which, so that you don't sort of end up depressed about something that you shouldn't be. Because he talks about, it's like most of people's misery is their own misery. So like, you know, if you're miserable about something, we've all done this, and like, this is why I liked this book, because it really spoke to me on some levels. You know, when you maybe start failing something or something doesn't go well, you get frustrated about the failure, and therefore you sort of, and it's the same with depression and people that are miserable. Like, you end up being miserable at yourself for being miserable. And it's like sort of being able to say, right, if I can like stop being miserable at myself for being miserable, that's the first journey on the REBT, because that's the part that you can control. So, you know, like some people that are trying to quit smoking, for example, and they can't, they might get sort of so wound up by it that they smoke more. And it's that sort of thing, but in an emotional sense, where like, you know, like people that want to lose weight and they can't.
So how do they actually do that? Like, how does the book suggest that you actually do that?
So what you've got to do is look at these things in isolation and really drill down into, is that something that I've created in my head, or is it something that can't be avoided? Like, so if you're like saying, the must is the best example, because he associates must with everything. Just flip that into a should, or, you know, because nothing's sort of set in stone. So if I'm like miserable because I think someone must feel a certain way about me and they don't, then like I'm just completely screwed, because I can't sort of get around that must. Whereas they don't have to. Nobody has to like anybody. Nobody has to do anything. And it's making, like, seeing through the sort of walls that you've put up around the ideal way you want to live, and nothing ever goes exactly how you want it to. So it's like, if you've got like a problem, you're not going to fix that with emotion almost. You're going to fix it with practically. So if you've got like practical difficulties and then you're associating emotional difficulties to them, then you end up in a situation where you're stuck in a loop. So his way is to always break stuff back down to why you feel like you feel. And if you feel like you feel, it is always going to come back to you. It's how you chose to act in that situation as a reaction to that, or it's how you chose to feel. You know, like if somebody doesn't like you as a person, you know, like them people we all know, and we all do it a little bit, where somebody doesn't like you and you're like, oh my God, they don't like me. And I don't mean that in a romantic way, but just anyone, you know, if you go like just someone that you're in a friend group with who doesn't like you as much as the others, you end up feeling like they don't have to like you. Yeah. And you feeling like they should like you is part of that problem, because you're like, well, they should like me, but why should they? No, not everybody likes everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, in a world full of like 8 billion people, a good chunk of them aren't going to like you. Yeah. So like, how are you going to sort of worry about this one thing and it's making sure you don't attribute your self-worth to this person's perception of you, because they might not even like, might not even intentionally be disliking you. You might just picked up on something that you think that they've acted in a certain way that means that they don't. And so, yeah, it's all about how you frame things to yourself. So anything that happens sort of in a relationship way, emotional way, professional way, you've got to look at it like as a, right, why am I upset about this? You're making it about you when, you know, the world isn't about you. So it's just being able to sort of step back and take responsibility a little bit and accountability for how you feel, not getting stuck in a loop of being miserable about your misery.
I don't always find as well, like it's one of those that people say that they have like a bad week or a bad couple of weeks, and it's almost like everything feels like it's negative once your frame of mind changes. And then whether you spend time or however you want, like say, reframing, you start doing the things that you can impact. So things that do make you feel better. So you clean up your diet, you don't drink alcohol, you stop eating chocolate, you go to the gym, whatever those are. And then suddenly all those negatives that had happened 2 weeks prior have completely changed. Now it's 2 weeks of positivity. So basically flipping it.
Yeah, and you say that, and that's exactly why, though, because when you start doing those things, you start to feel better about you. And you're not listening to any of the nonsense and the stuff that brings you down. So the
nonsense might still be there, but it's a frame.
Yeah, but you're like just sort of, the more you like yourself and the more you accept responsibility for you, the less likely you are to be sort of impacted by that stuff. And like, you know, you've heard the sort of stuff that people say, you know, when they'll say, oh, I just don't think about it. It makes me anxious just thinking about it. Like that is an emotive problem that you've got to solve, because if you're anxious about something that hasn't happened, that is like you sucking energy at yourself and making yourself worry about something that hasn't happened.
And might not happen.
And might not, yeah. So like you're basically agitated and upset and anxious about something that might happen, but it's equal parts, it might not happen. So why can't you focus on it not happening as opposed to it happening? And it's that kind of stuff. And it's, you know, like if you think about, I've never had one, but I've seen people have them. You know, when people have a panic attack, I feel like that starts with a very small thing, or maybe a big thing, but it gathers legs. The more you hyperventilate, and you start to worry about the fact you worry, and then you're panicking about the fact you're panicking, and then you have a panic attack. And that can be like triggered by, I'm not saying it's a small thing because it could be a big thing, but you get het up and you just sort of snowball into this panic attack mode because of one thing that you then convince yourself. Because I remember when, I hadn't talked about this on the podcast before, but I was in hospital years and years ago with a ruptured aneurysm in my brain. And then for the first when I first got out of hospital after it, there was a period where I was a little like, every time I got a mild headache, I was like, oh, fuck, is it happening again? And I remember once, I'd almost like, when I've seen like and read about panic attacks, I felt my heart rate increasing one time because I had a headache. And I was like, shit, that's happening again, because my heart rate increased when it happened. And then I was like, oh no, it doesn't feel the same. And I managed to talk myself down, but that was me in that initial headache phase, having a panic attack, but or the beginning of one, and being able to talk to myself and go, no, it doesn't feel the same. But if I could have ended up in hospital that night if I'd have just gone, oh shit, it's happening, and then just succumbed to it. So it's that kind of I don't know, that's an extreme example, but it's that kind of don't worry about worrying, don't panic about panicking, don't be anxious about being anxious. Like, you will always worry, you will always be anxious, and you will always panic at times, but panic, worry, and be anxious in isolation to the incident, not into making it into something to worry about on top of the worry. So I'd recommend anyone to read that book. I probably haven't done it justice. I've rambled a lot, I'm aware. It's quite difficult to concentrate when someone's knocking on the door.
Do you want me to?
No.
Yeah, we can leave it.
I'm not expecting no. Good. Hang on, let's have a look. Oh, it's my GSN. Go on, hold fort. Won't be snap. Go on. I'm back.
Oh, thank God.
Well,
I was panicking.
Fucking
calm down.
They knock on the door, and now he's gone. His van's there. They must be bringing it right back.
Probably.
It's my GSN anyway.
Very important, enough for you to skip away, which is very like you.
I know, but I can't miss it.
So, right, well then, so you've not done it justice. You recommend anyone to read it? Yeah,
definitely read that book. Especially if you do. I know, I never really explain things too well when I'm talking about how it could help someone mentally and stuff, because I'm like the very opposite of that sort of understanding. But when I read stuff like this, it shows that if people really wanted to, and I know this sounds harsh, but I don't mind, because it's what I believe. I think if people really wanted to, there are tools out there, there are ways of thinking, there's exercising that can help them get better. Like, it's difficult, and we all know that, and we all go through times when things are tough. But if you stubbornly refuse to make yourself miserable, if you do the right things, and you get outside, you work out. I know it's bang on about it all the same, but it is like, it always makes you feel better. And I'm not saying it'll fix all your problems.
No, but it's consistently proven, isn't it? They all help.
And it's just a case of, if it's, everyone's so quick now for, to recommend things like actual therapy and pills and things like that. And I have problems with all those things in terms of, is everything else sort of being set on the right path before we resort to those things? Therapy especially, I have a massive problem with that. Not because I think there's a problem with people that are in therapy, but what I don't like about therapy is you're paying someone to make you better that's in their best interest for you to keep coming back. So I'm like, to me, what? So I'm paying you to care. It's in your best interest for you to keep making me come back. Why would you make me better when I'm paying you? That's my sort of take on therapy. I know that might be brutal, and I'm sure therapy's helped many people, but paying someone to tell you how you feel and when you're ready to stop paying them just seems a little bit off to me. But I do, I strongly believe that if you eat better, don't just sit watching shit TV that depresses you, do stuff like that's in this book, get outside and have a walk, do all those things, you will feel better. And if you're doing all those things and you still feel fucking miserable, that's when you need help. For me, that's when you maybe need to, maybe therapy is the way, maybe meds are the way.
I think it's different for different people. That's a bit like saying, well, you can exercise at home, but you go and pay for a gym. I think it depends on the time, the space, and how people deal or work through things. That paying for a service like that might be an hour just to sit and talk to someone. It might be a bit like exactly a gym analogy. You don't actually have to go to the gym to train. You can train anywhere. And fitness can be outside for a walk. It can be all sorts. So I think it just depends on what it is. But like you say, maybe that book or whatever it is, the aids in which help you look inwards to decide what was the trigger, or why did you start feeling like that, and what's the chain of events, which may help with talking it through with someone, which maybe you haven't got friends or family that can do that for you. So I think sometimes it definitely has its place. The pills thing, I think, is a different question.
I'm not saying it doesn't have its place. I'm just saying if you're massively overweight, or if you're never exercising, you're constantly putting shit in your body, you're not depressed. You've got a lifestyle problem that is probably exacerbating depression. You know what I mean? But if you're doing the right things, I just find it very difficult for someone that doesn't do the right things in their life to then go and get a pill. It's like anything, isn't it? It's like, there's pills people can take that might have, I don't know, that aren't allowed, not supposed to eat sugar, like diabetic and stuff. And there's a tablet you can have that breaks down the sugar in a way that means that it eradicates it from your system. Hang on, just don't eat the sugar. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Like,
I think
masking problems. And the other thing with being on tablets and things like that, if you don't fundamentally change the problem, then do you want to take a tablet for the rest of your life? And then it becomes a dependency, and then you're kind of stuck in a loop. So that's why I truly believe that if you do all the right things to make you better and you still need the help, then go get the help. But don't I don't know, you won't paint a car that were dirty, would you? You'd clean the car first and then paint it, because otherwise, paint
over the dirt.
Yeah, so that's my take on this book, and then some other stuff. So
finish on the question.
So the question
was, if you were forced to sit on the sofa, what would you do? Or what are you doing? Paint the picture.
So if I'm forced to sit on the sofa, so I'm assuming that means what would I pick as an activity? Does it?
Yeah, or just paint the picture.
To be fair, it's good time of year for me, Champions League football and stuff. I don't like to I can't sit and watch TV series. I used to love them, and I just can't now. I feel like I'm committing too much to them. Mm-hmm. I'll sit and watch film because I know 90 minutes, 2 hours, I'm done.
You can deal with
but I don't like a series because I don't want to commit to it. But at the moment when the footy's on, that's me. So in the mornings, whenever I do sit on the sofa every morning and read, that's part of my morning routine. But if we're talking about in a relaxation kind of way, by the time my day's done, I'm reading shit like that. Mm-hmm. I can't read that at night. My brain's fried. You know what I mean? I've had to put up with you all day, so I've got no left. But yeah, so for me, if I'm sat on the sofa and I'm being forced to do that, watching footy is just my perfect way to unwind doing that. I don't mind listening to music and all, but I feel like watching footy is just good for me because, it's good. The one thing I enjoy doing. Nice. What about you?
I've got two favourites. I think it depends what frame of mind. But if I'm on my own, it would be background music, glass of red wine, and a book, I think. But if I'm watching telly, then it would be an educational documentary type thing, like The Ancient Apocalypse. I could not stop watching. Yeah. So things like that, then I'm absolutely soaked into that. No, don't get me wrong. Once upon a time, it was TV series and movies and stuff, but I just feel like it's wasted time. Whereas learning about something,
if you can unwind with something where you learn, it doesn't matter what you learn. No. It's still making your brain tick, innit?
Yeah. So mine's twofold.
Oh, so you can read with music on in the background.
Yeah. Only certain types of music, but deathly silence I struggle with. I've always struggled with deathly silence.
I don't know if it's because of the books I read. But I don't think I'm a great reader either,
you said you sometimes have to really concentrate.
Yeah, but it takes me ages to read, but I feel like it's going in. But I remember when I first started reading again on 75 Hard, it had probably been 10, 15, maybe 20 years since I'd read. Okay. So and I initially had to read, I was having to say the words almost out loud because I just couldn't fucking read, because I was doing that thing what you do, where you just read to finish the page as opposed to actually absorb the information.
Yeah.
So that's been a gradual process for me. So, whenever there's you go and sit on a sunbed and you're trying to read, I can't do it because I'm hearing kids jumping in pool. I'm well, everyone just be fucking quiet. I'm trying to read it. It's not ideal.
But your life's set up to concentrate on things. So I like that. Whereas I can block out noise.
I guess you have to when you've got a 3-year-old.
You do. Mummy on repeat. So probably the two. And because I don't like death silence.
Death silence.
Unless it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Then I can.
Right. I think we're done.
Smashed it. Bang on time. Look at that.
Boom.